So I was asked the question, what has my 2020 been like? In a nutshell, eventful. I've learned so much about myself. It's been a year of introspection.
So 2020 has been a crazy year for me, lots of change. I moved back to the UK after 9 years of living in France. I was trying to start a business as a freelance translator and interpreter. And then we were plunged into one of the strictest lockdowns in Europe.
2020 has been the greatest year of transformation for me. It's been the year that I have learned that your deepest struggles can be your greatest blessings if you get to choose to look at things from a different perspective.
To be fair, at first it was like a party, and then a prison sentence, and then a party, and then a prison sentence. And there were days when I thought, wow, this is brilliant. I've never been paid for doing nothing before. I'm just going to have fun. I'm going to do all of these things, like all these writing projects and these craft projects and things I don't have time to do. I want to do. Wow, I can do them. And then there were low days where it was like a prison sentence, where I was like, being paid to do nothing, but actually 80% of my wages, I did miss that other 20%. You do notice that.
2020 for me has been quite arduous. It has been very bitter. I mean, I've been swinging from moods to moods. So there are times when I will feel, very angry. I would feel very sad, sometimes quite tearful. There are moments of happiness, moments of satisfaction, but I think above all, I feel, very pensive.
2020 has been a very interesting year for me. I've not been one of the fortunate or unfortunate people to be working from home. Obviously, you can't work from home as a train driver because that would be very weird, but I've been going to work every day. I've seen, obviously, a decline in passenger numbers, and the world's just got a little bit funny. But 2020 has been a weird year because even as my second job as an Army Reserve, we've been helping sort of deliver PPE and key equipment and all sorts of supplies in and around the country. It's been excellent. So we've been doing that using trains, driving trucks. It's been cool.
And it was the worst of times. It was the best of times because I started to live in some new innovative ways. And it was the worst of times as well. I'm more innovative now in that I use the internet all the time. It used to be a source of amusement for me. Now it's a tool that I use to get along and survive on a daily basis. Of course, it's also the worst of times because of the inconvenience of the lockdown.
2020 has been a really interesting year for me. I started the year actually self-employed in my own business as a life coach and running retreats. I was running retreats for 3 years previous to that and absolutely loving my job, loving what I do. And then felt a calling to move back to London to my speciality in anaesthetics and surgery and worked through the pandemic.
It's been a real roller coaster. It really has. January last year, none of us thought that we were going to be in the situation that we're in now. We really didn't. I'd just had a successful interview, just about to start a new job, which I did in February, and I worked for a month in the office, and then bam, 23rd of March, there we were in lockdown, and life has never been the same again, really. It's been crazy.
Welcome to Tuesday Night Live. So we are looking at 2020, a year that has affected us all, and we are asking, how can we make sense of it, and what can we take away from it? We want you to get involved in the live discussion as well. So anything you want to add, comment below on the Facebook feed, and we post a Zoom link for you to get involved in the discussion as well. So how has it affected you, and how have you coped? We asked you to tell us this, and this is what you said.
So there's definitely been moments of anxiety this year. I think there's been lots of changes, as I said. I think a low point for me was, hearing one of my closest friends sobbing down the phone to me because her mum had been placed on oxygen in the hospital as she had COVID. At the same time, waiting for my mum to get her test results back because she's a nurse and she's asthmatic. So that was definitely a very difficult time.
I wouldn't say I'm a particularly woke guy. someone who's in touch with their feelings, but 2020's changed me. Mental health is massively important, more important than physical health in my opinion. It's just important to talk to people and open up, you know, when you've got issues, anything on your mind, just by asking someone, you know, how are you? And not just by responding with a typical, yeah, everything's cool, same old, you know. It's okay not to be okay.
And it's been hard in a lot of ways. I have lost friends to COVID. And in fact, very sadly, I heard that a husband of a friend of mine passed away this morning. So yeah, it has been very close to home indeed. And also it makes you think about your own life and your own sort of sense of mortality, because I'm 63, I'm in what is called vulnerable category, and I hate that term. I hate feeling as if I've got a label around my neck saying vulnerable. But you know, before all this happened, I felt very youthful, very young for my age. I still hope I am in a lot of ways.
I started with the running in the beginning of the first lockdown, and then moved to working out on the terrace in the mornings, and I really enjoyed watching people in the middle of the day working out, although I'm not the kind of person who works out in the middle of the day, but it was quite fun.
The first state was denial. In January, February, I ignored the original news stories about COVID, did not think it was very important. And then even when the lockdown started in March, I thought, this might last about 2 weeks or so, and then it'll be over with and we'll never hear about it again. But obviously I was wrong there. And then I started to get into conspiracy theories about how the government was using COVID to take away our rights and freedoms. Then from about April through about July, I was confused as to what to do. How would I survive and function without having a lot of social contact with people, either face-to-face or over the phone, which was another problem. And then from August onward, I did 2 major adaptations and really started to adapt. The first thing I did, like I said before, was using the internet.
You know, fear of what I was what I was going to get myself into. I didn't know what was happening with my hospital. I didn't have any feedback. I actually had visions of the fact that I might end up having to go into ITU work and look after COVID patients, and even, you know, the fear of the potential of going into the Nightingale wards, and that just felt like a war zone. You know, we'd seen the situations that had happened in China and in Italy, and myself and all my colleagues, everyone was so petrified of what was lying ahead for us. So there was a lot of that coming up for me, a lot to deal with. Even on my train coming into London, I was the only passenger on the train, and it was so eerie. Everything just felt abandoned. You know, I came into Euston, it was abandoned. There was no one there, no one anywhere on the streets. It was just like a zombie film. So there was a lot of fear arising in me.
So we are going to examine some of the points raised in that clip and the first now, and we've got some of those people live on the Zoom now. So if we go first of all to Gary7. Gary, how are you this evening? Gary, I can't hear him.
I can hear you fine.
Oh, I can. Brilliant. I got you now. So Gary, we'll get around to this conversation in a minute. So you, first of all, you denied the COVID, and then you kind of fell into the believing in the conspiracy theories. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, that was my... Well, at first I just blew off the story when the first stories about people catching COVID came out, like around January, February. I didn't think it was important because not many people had the illness, and I thought the media tends to sensationalize news stories anyway, so I just didn't take it seriously. I didn't think it was something that was going to last.
Okay, so when you started believing in it was a conspiracy, what sort of pushed you in that direction?
Well, I didn't think of it myself. It's just that these things started cropping up on YouTube, on the internet. People having theories about it being conspiracy. So I thought this was interesting, so I checked into those things. So I was just sort of going along with the flow, because a lot of people jumped into the conspiracy conspiracy theory very quickly, and I think they were all, to some extent, were in kind of a sense of denial. There has to be something else going on rather than a deadly disease.
You mentioned YouTube and the social media. We're going to look at those later. So, but then you've used this year to your advantage. You've lost weight and you've become an internet activist. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, well, losing weight, of course, there were times when some grocery stores didn't have the food I wanted. And so it was a good chance for me to lose weight because, you know, I didn't want to go out very often. I didn't want to visit grocery stores any more than I had to. So I started to discipline myself more. And I knew I had to lose weight anyway. And I've got diabetes, have to control my blood sugar better. So I concentrated on that.
So
that's what.
So this has brought you a benefit then. This opportunity, the opportunity that you could call 2020.
Oh yeah, it's definitely benefit. And like the activism was the same thing. Once again, I was forced to head in different directions.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Gary. We've got Cole Burton now, who's a bit of an action man, as well as being a train driver. And if you watch him on social media, he does loads of like backflips and everything when he should be driving. He's at Army Reserve, so he was right in the front line, facing the COVID. Carl, are you there? Carl, tell us about your frontline experience.
All right, so I can just about hear you, but I guess you can't see me.
I can hear you now. Yeah, tell us about your frontline experience.
All right, cool. So so I've been an Army Reserve for like 7 years, and every, I'll say 19 days a year, we just go and do training and stuff like that. It hasn't really, we haven't really done anything major. And then obviously this year with the COVID and stuff, the government decided to call us all in. That was sort of beginning of March, and we've done things from actually delivering PPE and actually administering tests in test centers to delivering Amazon parcels and shopping. So it's been random. We've done a little bit of everything, but where my kind of skills lie and the expertise is like, obviously being the train driver, they can use me to kind of move things around the country while driving trains, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's been interesting. It's been fun.
So 2020 has been more high octane than 2019.
It has. It's weird because it hasn't stopped for me. We've sort of had time off work and people have been working from home. I've literally been out and about every day, either driving trains for the military or doing tests or actually driving trains for the company I work for. So it hasn't actually stopped. And if anything, it's just got busier, where other people have had a little bit of time where they haven't done as much as what they would normally do in a day-to-day life. My life has got really busy.
So has that busyness been part of your coping strategy, do you think? Do you think you've been so preoccupied you haven't been able to stop and think?
100%. I just think it's been non-stop. I haven't had any holidays this year. I haven't had any summer leave or winter leave or whatever you call it. I've literally worked sort of 13 days in a row, and I've had like 2 days off, and then I've gone back to work for another 13. It's just been crazy. But because I've always been working, always been moving, it's almost like things are still sort of normal for me. It sounds weird, but they are sort of normal because it's just not stopped. And maybe I haven't had time to process how, not how serious this is, because obviously I know how serious it is, but I just haven't had time to think about the impact it has on me.
If I could ask very quickly,
yes.
Have you enjoyed this year more? Is your life more exciting now, do you think, because of 2020?
I think, you know what, I would say yes, because it's just go, 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 and I've not had time to sort of sit down and relax and chill and sort of get stuck in my own thoughts and just think, you know what, I've got 2 weeks off, 2 weeks. Where am I going to do? What am I going to, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? Because it's just been go, go, go all the time.
Yeah.
So it's been fairly exciting.
No, brilliant. Carl, we are going to come back to you. Okay.
Cool.
Stay there. Don't go anywhere. We won't.
All right.
So that was the first of our Zooms. Before we move on then, I just want to take this opportunity to celebrate some of the comedy of the year. Despite it being a year of trauma and high drama, it's also been one of great humour. And sometimes the only way you can cope is laugh. Much comedy has come from the memes that have appeared and been shared on social media. Let's take a look at them now. So we are now asking, how can we make sense of all that's happened this year? How can we do this? We are going to look at the year from a spiritual perspective, but first, have we been looking at 2020 completely wrong? Watch this movie.
What if the year 2020 was the best year of our lives? It was the year that allowed us to slow down in order to speed up. It was the year that allowed us to stay home and reflect. It was the year that the world woke up. What if 2020 isn't as bad as it seems? And it's actually been the greatest awakening ever. How has this year really been for you? Minus what the media tells you, how has it been for you? Have you had some time to do the things you've always wanted to do, like meditate, read, start a new hobby? Maybe it allowed you to get closer to your loved ones, to your kids, to your family, to your boyfriend, girlfriend, to your wife, your husband. What if 2020 is the greatest thing that's ever happened to the human race? I know it sounds far-fetched, but just what if? We're on to something. That the internet is allowing us to connect in a way that it's never allowed before, to share information, to pass on ideas, to create inspiration, to connect, to become, to evolve. What if the great year of 2020 is the year that everything changes because we were forced to grow, we were forced to overcome. Despite all the circumstances that told us it wasn't possible, we still showed up as the human race. What if 2020 is the year that changes it all?
So I'm joined now by our resident life coach, Lisa Fearon, who's going to give us a spiritual take on the year. Some of our vloggers have already mentioned it being a year of going within. So Lisa, the spiritual discussion. Over to you. Tell us about it.
Yeah. Do you know, I have many takes on this. I think
we all have our different beliefs and we all have our different experiences of what we've been through in 2020, you know, and everyone's experience is very different and all very valid. Overall, I feel like what we've been made to do is just be, and just to be still. And actually, we've been given the gift of time, which actually, you know, with most people, when they say they want to do something, or there's certain things in their life that are important, that time seems to always be like an element that stops them from doing it. And I think actually we've all been given this time to pause, time to reflect. You know, I guess in the spiritual communities that I've been in, it's been seen as a time to retreat. And, you know, the word retreat is to like take a step back and to take stock. And I think no matter what we've all been going through, everyone has been going through that. So I feel like this is it's huge, isn't it? It's all of the external distractions that we would normally have been taken away. You know, like I have friends who are very healthy, very fit, but because they had the element of exercise taken away, that really rocked them. You know, whatever, a lot of people, you know, having this self-isolation and being disconnected from the people we love, that's been really powerfully affecting people. And one thing that I really noticed was, you know, all of our basic human needs were taken away, you know, and the 4 basic human needs that, you know, we know of, Maslow talks about, is that we all have a need for certainty and variation, love and connection and significance. All of them were wiped out with what has happened, you know. The feeling of certainty, security, you know, survival. Everyone, no matter how rich you are, poor you are, whatever, like we've all had our health right in front of us. We've all had to face our mortality, our own mortality, and that's massive. You know, certainty of jobs, so even certainty of food. You know, when like the first lockdown happened and we couldn't even get into supermarkets, people started to become like animals, because all of a sudden that basic need was taken, and that's massive. And then you've got like, you know, variation. We're all stuck in the same house. Like we're very lucky, but other people have had this just same old feeling. The significance, you know, like feeling that we have a part in our lives, we have a choice, we have control taken away, love and connection taken away. So a lot of people, this is really affected in quite a negative way. And so I think, you know, spiritually, we've all had time to really reflect on what's important to us in our lives. And I think, you know, you really appreciate what you have when there's a fear of it being taken away. And I think that's the thing with the health, with you know, family and who we love. And so, you know, the whole trying to meet our basic needs, this is why most of us have got this 2020 podge, because, you know, comfort eating, drinking, you know, whatever kind of comfort things we have lent to, you know, they all meet those needs. So we've all kind of had these maybe like bad habits that have come creeping in, and that's natural. And, you know, like this is our kind of way of dealing with the levels of uncertainty.
We've been told, sorry if I can interrupt, we've been told in spiritual text, and it was around the year 2000, age of Aquarius, that there would be a shift. And nothing seemed to happen for 19 years. And then suddenly this year, it's been so dramatic, such a difference. Is this the shift? Is this the start of this promised new, better, improved world, do you think?
Well, you're saying it hasn't happened for 19 years, but actually 2012 was like a really monumental shift. There was lots of powerful shifts that happened in that time. And in the spiritual community, they believe that there's everything happens in kind of 7-year cycles. And this cycle, you know, is actually a massive transition. What I do know is, you know, there's never before happened where the whole planet has been made to stop, made to stay in, made to, you know, retreat, basically, you know, from the president to the Dalai Lama. Everyone has been made to do this one thing, and I feel like that has had a powerful effect. You know, also we say astrologically, but I feel like on a planetary level we've been forced to stop. And, you know, there's a lot of belief that maybe nature has forced us to stop, because there's only so much that the way we were going was going to be sustained. And actually this whole pause, the time where literally there was no traffic, there was no whatever, like pollution, you know, like that had a really powerful positive effect on the planet. You know, we had reports of like dolphins in Venice, and like, you know, clear skies in Japan or China or whatever, which has never happened before. There was a lot of actual positive effects on our planet.
Something has happened this year, hasn't it? We've got some people now on our Zoom, and I'm going to put these headphones on again. So Harriet, we've got Harriet.
Is that me, guys?
Harriet mentioned she has faith that has helped her through. Harriet, so you've seen that film, and you've listened to Lisa. What do you think? Is this a time of spiritual awakening?
I don't know if I'm the best placed person to pronounce on everybody's own spiritual journey in 2020, but I know for me, definitely, it was an opportunity to see what's left of my faith when you strip everything else away. Is my faith just going to church on a Sunday? If I can't go to church on a Sunday, what's left? And I know for me, 2020 was, and I think for everybody this is true, it was a time of asking the big questions. When the certainties are taken away from us, like we just heard, I think that pushes us into a bit of soul searching. And I know that in the first lockdown, I just spent days and days just, reading the Bible, praying, spending time with God and in my faith, trying to see what this was all about, and kind of looking to the future as well.
And how did that help you out? Was that a great strength? Did that get you through?
It was a real help. I think it gave me a kind of certainty in a very uncertain period, if that's possible. But I think also I just more appreciated it on a personal level beyond 2020. We had time for the first time in our lives, perhaps for some of us. We had time out. We had enough time just to sit there and spend time connecting with our spiritual sides, with our faith, because everything else that would normally be taking up our time was taken away.
Yeah. No, thanks for that. Let's ask Deeja now. We've got Deeja on the Zoom as well. Deeja, you've stepped up and upgraded yourself this year. It sounds like that this has been your year.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
I would say it's been the best and the toughest year for me, and it's just been that year that I've been able to ask myself the bigger questions of who am I, what do I want to be, and
those are powerful questions to ask. Would you have asked them if it wasn't for this virus stopping the normality of your life? And
I wouldn't say it's the virus that actually triggered me to start asking these questions, because I was going through a crisis just before the lockdown, which continued on, and it's actually made me really reflect on what I really wanted. And I dug very deep, and I went and reconnected with God, with the Quran. I remember when, Ramadan came in, and I was just thinking, because, Ramadan is such a big thing for us as Muslims. We normally do things as a community and everything. And I was here thinking to myself, how am I going to survive in this place by myself in Ramadan without getting to, connect with the community and everything? But I would say that became the best Ramadan for me. And after that Ramadan, I started seeing the light as I was working on myself and, going back and connecting with God. He tells us in the Quran, don't be afraid. I'm with you all the time, listening and hearing. So I was, as I did that job and worked on myself and continued doing some self-development, exercise, gratitude journal, and then as I went on that journey, and then I started seeing this new me coming out that I had never known had existed before.
Wow, so it does sound like you've used 2020 to your personal advantage. The sort of the hiatus, the pause in normal life.
Yeah.
You've used that to really empower yourself.
Yeah. I would say
Brilliant.
that.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you. And we'll be continuing this discussion in a moment. But one thing that 2020 will most definitely be remembered for is its conspiracy theories, from 5G speculation to microchipping and digital passports. One person who has certainly raised their profile this year is footballer turned son of God turned author David Icke. We asked one person that lives here, Sally Roberts, who's read David's latest book, The Answer, what she thinks of 2020 and all of its theories. This is what she said.
I have read, I think, every one of David Icke's books. He's written a large number, so I may not have read them all, but I've read most of them. I've read it, and I don't think I have quite discovered the answer. I mean, some of it was quite turgid, but I did plough through it, and a lot of it was very, very interesting. I mean, I would say it was rehashing a lot of his earlier books. There wasn't anything particularly new there, but yeah, it was good. Poor old Bill Gates. I actually feel very sorry for him. I mean, the guy he's got a massive amount of money, which I think is where a lot of this stems from, because he and Soros get a lot of stick, and they are very rich men, there's no doubt about that. But poor old Bill Gates, he gives his money to great causes. He's a philanthropist. Okay, he was Microsoft. But yeah, I feel desperately sorry for him, and I don't think he's done anything to deserve these conspiracy theories against him. I think, to be honest, I think conspiracy theories come when people are frightened and they don't have a sense of control over their lives and they need to blame someone or something. It builds up to a sort of feverish pitch in your mind and you start to believe all this stuff is actually true. But, the trouble is there is a damaging side to all this. If people believe that COVID is a hoax and all this sort of thing, then they're going to go out, they're going to mix, and the facts are that the virus loves people mixing together and doing all the things that we shouldn't be doing. I'm not sure that 5G is entirely good for us. I think there are some dangerous aspects to it. I don't think it is particularly healthy. But the jury's out. We'll see what happens. I probably will end up getting a 5G phone. Who knows? Yeah, I've been looking up some stuff about the Great Reset, and actually, I think I'm going to make myself really unpopular here, but actually, I think the Great Reset is actually a good idea. I think we are going to have to sort of go back to square one a bit when it comes to the economy and how people live in a sustainable way in the future. To pay more attention to climate change, etc., etc.
So let's hear what some of you guys think of all of this. Let's chat to you live over Zoom now. So we've got Gary again. Gary, you mentioned before that you were sort of swept up in the YouTube world of conspiracy theories. Have you been watching David Icke? Been watching what he's been up to this year?
Not too much, no. I know his general theories. Some of them are a bit far out for me. But I know he goes with the general premise that we are basically all being controlled by the 1 or 2% of people at the top, and they decide everything for us.
Yeah, it's interesting. My parents lived down the road from David Icke, and for years he has been seen as the local madman. And yet this year, because I think, is it because some of the sort of legislation and 2 meter distancing and wearing the mask, it just seems so absurd. If it was, and the fact that the airports, we were all told to hide in our houses, yet they left the airports wide open. There's so many kind of plot holes in the narrative. Is that where you think these conspiracy theories have planted a seed, and they seemed like, there could be something in this? It just seems so crazy from what we've been living before.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. I think these conspiracy theories make predictions that are sort of like Bible prophecies. They always tend to be a bit vague, or like astrological predictions. They're vague enough so you can take any event that happens and fit them into the prophecy and say, oh, you see, this is proof. And it's really believable to people.
I thought what Sally said, she said it's people too much time on their hands. If they're envious and jealous of rich people like Bill Gates and Soros, that they can't possibly believe that these guys have done well for themselves. They must be like an evil Bond villain wanting to take over the world and everything. Is there an element of truth in that perspective, do you think, as well?
I don't think people run the world on purpose. I think it's inevitable, though, that when you have a few people with enough money and enough power, they're obviously going to have much more major influence than the rest of us. So it's sort of a natural evolution of the way things work, especially in a capitalist society.
My brother, he said Bill Gates can't even fix computer viruses. How can we expect him to make a vaccine and fix this virus? What do you think of that perspective?
Well, it's basically true. I just like Elon Musk doesn't know how to build a spaceship by himself. You know, we once again, because they're powerful and they can afford to be on the media a lot, they can present themselves as being authorities on things, but they're really not.
Yeah. No, thanks, Gary. Let's ask Carl now, because I've had this conversation with Carl previously about just how some of this stuff has seemed completely bonkers. Carl, so you've been on the front line, haven't you? Is he there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're there. Yeah, I can hear you now.
I've just kind of moved outside into just to slightly go off topic. I moved outside into a busy part of Birmingham, and I'm just having a discussion. I'm having a discussion with a random man who's said that obviously they're going to
have a discussion with this random man. Have a discussion with me. Right, cool. So all this conspiracy theory. What's your take on this? Because we've had this conversation.
Yeah, we have. I've got interesting things to say about it. It is funny because it seems that there's obviously material and there's some sort of evidence that some of these things can actually be true and correct, depending on what side of the fence you fit on. So it's like people trying to put square pegs into round holes, but all of a sudden one of those pegs is square and it fits in and people run with it. And I think when you have enough people running with it, I think that people jump on the bandwagon, and then once people jump on the bandwagon, it starts to pick up pace. Once it picks up pace, you've got people in the streets with placards, ignoring social distancing, not wearing masks, shouting at us as police officers and the military, who are just trying to diffuse the situation because you shouldn't be out there doing what you're doing. You're disregarding advice from the government and the powers that be.
Yeah,
and you
it was mentioned by Gary at the beginning.
Yeah,
that YouTube just absorbing more and more YouTube content, and then the internet. Do you think it's like 25 years ago when there were 4 TV channels and 4 newspapers? They all fed us the same narrative.
Yes.
And now 2020 comes along. We've got the internet has embedded itself enough within our culture. Every fact that has been made is countered by the mainstream media. Every fact that's made by the mainstream media has been countered by websites. And there's, one of the memes was our expert. We go live now over to our expert Karen from Facebook. Everyone at the start in like March, April time become an expert on economics and vaccination control. It just seems that the internet has created a mouthpiece for so many conflicting and contradictory viewpoints and opinions. It's almost everything is fake news, would you say? What is the truth now?
What is the truth? Nobody knows, because as you said, there's so many platforms, Twitter, Facebook. All you got to do is create a channel and come up with your version of the truth. I could use a lot stronger words, but I'm not going to.
It's almost like, isn't it? If someone says what you're believing, that's almost like evidence that what you're saying is fact.
That's it.
And so
and
you
that's the
get
thing.
on a rant. And
it takes one person to view a channel and be like, you know what, this guy or this girl is talking absolute sense. Then they go on WhatsApp, send it to 3 or 4 people.
Yeah.
Then it spreads, and then that's it. You got a chain reaction. Every action causes a reaction. Every cause has an effect, and then you've got people on the bandwagon, and
then people protesting in the streets of London. No, thank you, Carl. We'll come back to you in a bit. Over to you, Hester.
Hey everyone. So, looking back over this year, I thought it would be rather fun to take us through a few of the headlines that have been beating around on social media this year, just to dispel a few of the rumours that have been going viral. So this is my fact-checking tool. Here we are. If anyone wants any more information, they can message me. But you can filter by topic and by platform, and we've got trusted, verified, fact-checking organisations around the globe just to see what's true and what's not. So 2020 really, we've kind of seen it all. We've seen anything from the ridiculous to the obscure to the really rather sinister headlines going viral on social media platforms. Anything from Chinese chicken causes coronavirus, anything to mass escape from China to Vietnam. We've seen videos of people queuing for death certificates in Wuhan back in February, actually. That was found by a fact checker to be not true. That's the verdict. And there's even cures, such as boiled ginger can cure coronavirus. Even things like cocaine can cure coronavirus. Remember this headline from earlier this year? Bill Gates caused coronavirus or created coronavirus. That was going viral on Facebook and WhatsApp. So that has been found to be not true by Full Fact, who are actually a British fact-checking organisation. That was on Facebook and WhatsApp earlier this year. Next up, we have the 5G riots. Do you guys remember this? Rioting for anti-5G because 5G causes coronavirus. Lots of riots for that. So that's been checked actually by, that was Full Fact again. Verdict, not true. Next up we have Pope Francis, who was on Facebook and WhatsApp earlier this year, supposedly having contracted and tested positive for coronavirus. Now, I can't answer for Pope Francis personally, but indeed AFP and India Today, another fact-checking organisation, found that to be untrue. And the last special I've got for you is this guy, Tom Hanks, who was quarantined in Australia whilst filming for a show. Well, on social media, on Facebook and WhatsApp in particular, was supposedly given a volleyball, courtesy of the hospital staff. Now that was found to be untrue by AFP and Boom. So these are just a few of the highlights of the things going around on social media this year. I thought it might be funny to reflect back on. Pretty much just in case we are in an era of post-truth, just to let everyone know there are organisations out there around the globe who are checking these facts for us, and we can get a good scope on what is true and what's not on social media.
So what have you learnt from 2020 and what are you going to take forward? This is what some of you said.
Going into 2021, I am glad that this year is coming to an end. I think I'm fed up with it, like all of you. But I think I've also learnt about what's important in life, and I think I'll definitely try to be more intentional in just building friendships and relationships with my family, because I think at the end of the day, that's what's most important. I think it taught me that happiness isn't necessarily doing a certain thing or having a certain thing. I think it's the perspective that you have about what you already have.
To be honest, I guess my biggest takeaway is learning to dance in the chaos. That's really it. I've kind of got into the sort of Eastern Buddhist Zen sort of vibe that relax is all out of control. It is all out of control. And if we can just accept that, I've learned to dance in the chaos and have a laugh at the ridiculousness of it, really, because that's ultimately, I guess that's all we can do. So yeah, dancing in the chaos. I've learned maybe not to take life so seriously.
It just helps that we stick together as a group, as humans, as a family. You know, especially moving into the collective, there's so many different personalities and stuff. But at the end of the day, we need to just take a moment to look out for each other.
Most importantly, I have learned that once you are able to fix your mindset and you fix your mindset, everything else goes in flow. So 80% is the psychology and 20% is the strategy, basically.
You know, there is a vaccine coming. I plan to have it as soon as I'm able to do so, and hopefully life will get back to normal, start to get back to normal.
I've learned two things. Most importantly, I've learned not to be surprised by whatever happens in the world anymore. All this stuff was a surprise, so nothing really surprises me anymore. Even if flying saucers land on the White House lawn tomorrow, I can't say I'd be surprised. I'll just adapt as best as I can. The second thing I brought into 2021 is I now appreciate the importance of being really creative and experimental when developing new ways to live.
I feel like this year has shown me how much we take for granted. You know, just being able to go out of your free will to go shopping, just being able to meet friends out for dinner. Like, those are the little things that I think we all took for granted in 2019. 2020 has shown me, like, be grateful, because these small things are the little things that make life good. And I'm just so thankful for them. So 2021.
So let's find out what our Zoom people think of this take on the subject. Harriet, we'll start with you first of all.
Okay.
Hi there. You had quite a profound sort of insight, didn't you? That happiness is perspective, and it's all about love.
Yeah, I guess like that kind of goes back to my faith again. That's what I've always been taught. It's, you know, you've got to be happy with what you've got.
It's gratitude.
It's so human to want more than what we've got, right? To think that if only I had this, then I'd be happy. If only I had that, then I'd be happy. And you know, you can really easily fall into that. I know that for me, 2019 was all about travel. I had to go to all of these different places, and that would make me happy. 2020 clearly wasn't about that, and still somehow in that I managed to find happiness.
That is brilliant. And you're aware of how you found happiness, so you can take that with you forever.
Yeah, I think it's intentional. I think you have to choose to be happy, and you're not always going to be happy, but you know, there are times when happiness just seems that bit too far out of reach.
Yeah, you can't ever control the elements of what's going on around you, but you can always control your perspective of it, and you can choose an optimistic perspective.
Yeah, and you can be kind to yourself in the moments when perhaps you're unable to be optimistic. You can be optimistic for the people around you, perhaps, as well. I think that's why we need each other, and that's what's great about having a community at this time, right?
We have been so lucky here, without a doubt, haven't we? That we've had the social contact and everything.
So lucky.
What Lisa said, you know, we've got social. We've got people. We've had people around us all year, haven't we? So brilliant. Thanks, Harriet. Sorry, we just go to Cole now. Cole, are you there, or are you still chatting to that man?
The man has now gone, and I'm on my own again. Yeah.
So you, So what was your big learning lesson for what are you going to take from 2020?
What I'm going to take from 2020, just offer people a little bit more support. You know, talk to people, ask them how they're doing, ask them if they're okay, you know.
You said at the very beginning, in the very opening clip, you said you're not woke. Do you think do you think you now are Mr. Woke?
I wouldn't say I'm Mr. Woke. I'd say I found out a lot about myself, and in the process, I found out a lot about other people, just by asking questions that probably I wouldn't ask before. I'm a bit more comfortable with maybe seeing someone a little bit upset or disorientated, and just sort of, even if it's a complete stranger or randomer, which is why random people talk to me, I guess.
So what you found out about yourself? Have you liked what you found out about yourself?
Yeah, I think I have. I think that I can support and help other people, and I didn't think that. You spoke to me a year ago. I didn't think I was that kind of person. I was a little bit withdrawn and quiet, but now I'm kind of come out my shell a little bit, and I realised that I can help other people. I can support other people, and I can find other people find the best versions of themselves, while I hope one day to find the best version of me. So, you know,
I think after this show tonight, you're going to have a bit of a fan club.
Oh no! Stop it!
Thanks for sharing. No, that's brilliant. No, thanks so much, guys, and thanks all everyone else that joined us on the Zoom tonight. We got there eventually, didn't we? Even if I did have to wear these horrendous headphones. Sorry, Brandon. Right, okay, so we're near the end of the show. So we got some Facebook comments. Heather said, "You can't stop time, but 2020 paused it somewhat." That's quite deep. And Sarah said, "Love this, such different experiences from everyone." Thank you for that. and not quite sure what Mark has sent us there. So just before we wrap up, next week is called Christmas is Coming, and we need Lisa. Lisa's here. Lisa's going to come in. She's going to tell us. Lisa is leading on all the Christmas festivities over the next few weeks and into the new year.
Get closer.
We're being told how to sit on the sofa. Over to you, Lisa.
Hey.
Tell us everything about Christmas.
Yeah, so there's lots of exciting things coming up for our Christmas events. And so you're all probably aware that we've got the Christmas door decorating competition that has started. It started on the weekend, and that is running for 4 weeks. And we want you all to do up your doors. We've kind of got the regulations, you know, it has to be kind of fire safe and not tripping anyone over or landing on their heads. But, you know, be creative. And the idea is for you to get to know your neighbour. And so, you know, your neighbour in your 2DO, if you want to work together, but, you know, if you haven't got someone who wants to do it, look at the people next to you or opposite you and see if you can work together. Obviously, like social distancing and all that. But it's a competition, and on the 21st of December, we will announce the winner. And there's amazing prizes to be won. I probably don't know that yet. And
I think we're winning at the moment, though, aren't we? We haven't got much competition. I've seen one other door.
Check out our door on the 7th floor if you want some inspiration. It's amazing. It's falling apart at this point, but you know,
we can sell you how to do it. The advice and tips on how to make a winning door. But yeah.
And
what else is coming up?
Our TV show is going to be actually spotlighting some of the doors as well, you know, and we're going to have a bit of fun around, you know, sharing the best doors, our favourite doors. So that's that. And then we have exciting announcement that I made earlier on the Facebook group. Winterfest is coming, and that's going to be on the 23rd of December, and that's going right the way through to the 2nd of January. So that's 9 days, and it's like a micro festival. So we're going to be spreading out lots of different events going on all around the collective. So from the 23rd, and then we're going to have it like Boxing Day, Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, even New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. And they're going to be like 4 or 5 events like in different places every single day.
That sounds ambitious.
Yeah, so this is a community-led event. So, you know, it's for anyone to contact me, let me know. I'm helping them organise. If you've got an idea of something Christmassy you want to run, you can collaborate with someone else or do it yourself. It doesn't have to be Christmassy. It can be just something celebrating us coming together and enjoying something, you know, something fun.
That's
something
what this year's
playful.
been about, hasn't it?
Yeah, for some.
Community, yeah.
But yeah, so we're trying to, you know, create a bit of togetherness and a bit of collaborations going on. So, you know, be inventive, be creative. It, like I said, it doesn't have to be Christmas. Not everyone might celebrate that. So I think there's some, I can't remember how to pronounce it, Hanukkah. Celebrations going on. We're going to have some caroling in the lobby. There's talk of doing an open mic night. There's going to be black tie and like dress dance kind of event. There's like all sorts of different events.
Are there going to be enough hours in the day for all this?
Well, you know, I've actually seen a little sneaky peek of the itinerary that Canary Wharf have got, and it looks really good. So I feel like we need to up our game and we need to do better. So yeah, I mean, they've got some great things coming up. But we know what, we've got a lot of great people here, a lot of creative people, and I think there's talk of a treasure hunt going on with our Marlon.
That Marlon character.
Yeah, so lots of things going on.
Scavenger
Christmas
hunt as well,
jukebox, anything with mulled wine, anything with chocolate, anything with festive food. You know, contact me if you have any ideas. You want to run something. And there's also talk of maybe a Christmas market, you know, where we could have for one afternoon, like a few little stalls and a few little things going on. So.
And our show next week is going to be called Christmas is Coming. It's going to get this ramping up, get this featured. That is it then. That is it for this week's. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for bearing with us. And have a great week. See you soon.